Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Monday morning in lockdown. Hopefully you all had a good weekend. Nice long weekend, obviously, with the 75 years VE Day celebration on Friday. So I do hope you enjoyed it. Lovely weather that we had on Friday and Saturday for those celebrations. So yeah, that was nice. And I thought I'd actually start this session by sharing a very short video on Friday morning. The Red Arrows obviously flew over London and did a big loop as part of the VE Day celebrations. And what was really nice for me is I was outside with the kids and the family, and the Red Arrows went straight over the house.
Look up. Here they come.
So obviously the kids and myself were very excited. I'm into my aviation, so that was a really nice surprise to have them straight over the top of the house. And just shows that, you know, even in these difficult and troubling times, we can all find a little bit of happiness and a little bit of excitement. So that was nice, and I hope that you always also managed to have a nice weekend as well. So this morning, our 7th session. Thank you for those of you that are joining us for the first time. Thank you for those of you that are joining us for the 7th time this morning. If you've not been following along so far, check the description. There is a download link which would get you to the file that I'm setting at the moment if you want to follow along. And obviously you can go back onto our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, check out our other videos, and obviously you can go through all of these sessions step by step to learn Revit in a nice, short and easy manner. So what we're going to be focusing on today is extracting data and using information from our project. So far throughout these 7 sessions, we've gone through and we've set up our project. We've talked about how we can navigate the user interface, how we can navigate our model, accessing the project browser, selecting things, looking at their properties, and just really quickly in these short, quick-fire sessions going through and essentially built up this building, which absolutely it's nothing special, it's nothing spectacular, but the tools that you've learned in doing so, you've learned how to create geometry, you've learned how to place and edit geometry, modify that geometry, draw walls, ceilings, floors, roofs, add on sweep profiles around the top of walls, adding components. So you know you're getting a really good grounding in how to use Revit, which is fantastic, and really the idea behind these sessions is to drive that knowledge in drips and drabs. So hopefully you're at a point where you're starting to use this in your own time and feel confident. But part of this is actually we have more than just a CAD model. You know, when we take our jump from something like 2D CAD into something like Revit, the first thing really that gets people is the intelligence. So rather than drawing lines, as we've discussed, we've been drawing walls which are fully detailed, and they know that they have plasterboard, they know that they have a breeze block, a cavity, a brick, render, whatever it might be. When we place a window, Revit knows we're placing a window. And that's really where this next session is going, because you know Revit knows that this is a window. Revit knows that this is a door. Revit knows that this is a staircase. So any annotations that I start to add, any detail that I start to put on this model, as we saw in last week's session, it all starts coming together and you kind of get this intelligent, information-driven model. What that means in a nutshell is if I take this window or this door, I can come in and say, okay, well, let's annotate and let's go ahead and tag a specific component, and I want to tag this window, or I want to tag this door. And Revit will know that we are tagging very specific information with that tag, and it will start allowing us to drive further information through those tags, such as I want to see what type of component that is, or I just want to see its mark or identification number in the drawing. And this information really starts flying through the rest of our model, because if we focus on, okay, we have a very simple design, but the first thing I want to do is get a really good picture of what doors I have in that design. Now, we've only got a few generic ones in here, but for the purpose of today, again, brilliant example over a very short period of time about how we can start extracting this data from our model. So what we're going to do is create a schedule, first of all. And a schedule in Revit is a little bit like a data extraction inside of AutoCAD, or a table of data, or even a database, if you like, to a certain degree, where it's just going to pull information from Revit, from those families and those components that you have, and place it into a custom defined table. So we're going to come across to view, because a schedule is a view, like all of the other working environments in Revit. And if you come to the right hand side, you'll have schedules. Now, sorry, excuse my voice today with all the wind outside. There's a lot of pollen which is getting to me. But if we go to view, we can come to schedules, and then we're going to say that we want to do a simple schedule or quantity. If you select that, we get, typically on my other screen, we get this pop-up box. And this is going to ask me what category I would like to schedule information from. Now, Revit has a category for pretty much most things, apart from anything it doesn't, in which case it puts it under a generic category. So walls are walls, doors are doors, windows are windows, furniture is furniture. So what you have in here is a list of categories. And then what we need to do is tell Revit from which category we would like to pull information. So we've said that we're going to do doors first of all. So we're going to go and find doors in the list. You can filter this list if you want to. So if you were only architecture and you didn't want to see any of the other information in there, you can make the list smaller. Likewise, if you're only mechanical and you don't want to see the architectural information in there, you can make that list smaller. Okay. Either way you go about it, go and find doors. And then to the top right, we can give this a name. So I'm just going to come in and say this is going to be my first door schedule. Okay. We have some other options. They're not really to be worried about for now. Revit has something called phases, which means that you can draw in a phase design approach. So you might have existing building information versus new construction versus demolition, so on and so forth. So you can choose to schedule out to those phases if you want to. Again, for the purpose of today, we don't need to do that. So we've chosen doors. We've gone to my first door schedule, and then we're going to go ahead and press OK. And then on the next screen, we basically get our options. So what this is going to give us as an output is literally a table. And that table will have different columns for fields, and those fields will be properties from the components of which we choose. So the doors that we have in the model, they might have a fire rating. They'll certainly have a width and a height. They might have a name or an identification number, a cost perhaps. And all of those properties, as we've seen throughout these earlier sessions, as you select a door, they'll be shown in the properties field in the top right. So all we're doing now is we're telling Revit which ones of those we want to extract the information from. So firstly, we're going to use this scroll and we're going to scroll down and say, I want to pick up the actual family name. So go and pick family, and then you can come and press this button here to say that we want to add that parameter into our schedule. From there, we're going to scroll down and we're going to find the type. We're going to select it and we're going to move it across. A few more that we're going to go to get is scroll up. We're going to grab mark, scroll up to cost, scroll down to fire rating, and we should end up with something that says family, type, mark, cost, and fire rating, which for the purpose of today is absolutely fine. That's all we need to have. We can change the order if we want to. So on the right hand side here, we have some up and down buttons. So perhaps we want the cost at the end and we want the fire rating further up. We can customize that as we see fit. You know, that really is however you want it to be. And before we go any further, I'm just going to go ahead and press OK. So select these properties and press OK. Now what Revit will do is it will extract information from the drawing and it will give us a very basic table. We've not chosen to format that table in any way. This is literally just listing every single door that we have inside of the model. Before we start formatting this table and making it a little bit more specific, let me show you the intelligence here. So I'm just going to go to my 3D view and close it off and just sit on my floor plan. While I'm on my floor plan, I'm going to press WT. Remember, that's tile windows. You could also go to the view tab at the top and then hit tile views on the top right hand side, excuse me. Once you've got that, we can see our schedule to the right and our floor plan to the left. Now, this is the intelligence now coming through. Watch what happens if I come and select a door in the model. Okay, not a lot. If we come and choose our schedule and click on our schedule, just start clicking slowly through your doors. You'll notice that when we make a selection in a row, it highlights a door in the model. So we instantly have a direct link between a table of information, a schedule inside of Revit, and on the right hand side, our geometry, whether that's a 2D view or even a 3D view. That means that I can instantly see what row relates to which piece of geometry, which is fantastic because that gives me the ability to say, okay, well, that is where that component is. Maybe I want to have a different door there, or I wasn't expecting to see that there. The other thing we can do is the first thing I did in this session was I added a tag. So if I just come back into my 2D view and say annotate tag by category, and let's just come and click a tag on these two doors. So we've got the Mark 4 and the Mark 5. So whenever you add a component in Revit, it always adds a type mark. Okay. That type mark will be the same for every type of door. Okay, so that door int single 810 by 2110 will always have that type mark. But against every instance, remember these are instance properties and these are type properties. For every instance of door, you also have a mark, which is an identification number, if you like, for every individual door. So this is showing us that this is door 5 and this is door number 4. Okay, and we can see that mark over here. So we have another area of which we can identify these doors from. So everything starts linking together. The great thing in here is everything is always updating. So if I say architecture, door, and go and place another door over here in the model, keep your eye on the schedule on the right hand side, and you will notice that we have another door added to the bottom. If we come in and we say that we want to tag that door at the bottom, we can see here it is, door 23. And again, if we come and select that row, it will highlight in the model that particular component. Now at this point, it's important to note that that is a direct link. So if I come in and change anything against this particular door, it will change it against that door in the model. For instance, grab this row. If I come in, right click and delete that row, Revit's going to warn me, well, hang on, you're going to actually delete a component. If I press OK, by deleting that row in the schedule, you've also deleted the door in the model because the two are the same thing. It's not like AutoCAD where you have line-based drawings to represent a door and then a piece of M text with a leader to say, oh, hey, that's a door. The geometry has the information attached. Therefore, the metadata can only exist if the door exists. The simple example I've been given in the past about this is if you've got a piece of furniture and that piece of furniture is a table, the tag and the schedule is going to tell you that it's a table. If that piece of furniture changes to be a chair, the tag and the schedule will also change to say, oh, hey, I'm now a chair. It's not like in 2D CAD where if you've forgotten to update your M leaders or whatever it might be, you've got a piece of text which is out of date or wrong. Everything's driven from the model. So everything we do has that continuous loop and information in there, which is great. And that's really exactly where we want to be. So we have a basic schedule. We understand that all that's doing is it's pulling information from the model. That again means in a nutshell that if I come and grab this type of door, go into its type properties, scroll down till I can find fire rating, and maybe let's say that this is a 60-minute door. So let's give this a 60-minute fire rating. Hit apply, hit OK, and within, instantly, every type of door will then go and update with that 60-minute window. If I come and find door number 2, which is this one over here. If I take door number 2 and this time within the schedule, update that fire rating, maybe I want that to be a 30-minute door. So I type in 30. Revit's now going to give me another prompt and say, well, this will actually append that change to every instance of that door. Remember, we're looking at a type property. A type property is the same for every one of those doors. So if I press OK, every one of those 910 by 210 doors will now be 30-minute fire door. Okay. So we can add information to our types and they will come across to our schedules. We don't need to update anything, it's automatic. If you find it easier, we can add information within our schedules, and all of those informations within our schedules will then be updated and corresponded directly within our 3D model. Okay, so we have a really nice way of working, and it's something that you really need to play around with and get used to, but it works really well. So let's just finish by adding some more information in here. So let's say that one's a 60-minute fire door as well, and then this one maybe is going to be a 30-minute. So we've got some information. We might then want to go and add some costings. Again, I'm going to do this all in my door schedule. So let's say that this door here is £50. Let's say that this door here is £100. Just making this up as I go along. Maybe this one is 75. Just go through and add any costings. Doesn't really matter for the purpose of this what costings you add in there. Just add some costings in. Okay. So very quickly we can start building up that information within our model. Let's show you how we can start grouping this together now. So I'm just going to bring my door schedule and TW, by the way, to go back to a non-windowed environment, TW on the keyboard, or indeed view and the relevant button. What I'm going to do is start grouping things together and showing you how we can sort and customize the look and feel of this schedule. So firstly, I'm just going to go into any of these edit buttons. Really doesn't matter which one you choose because they all open up the original screen. Okay, it just takes you to one of the specific tabs. So if I go to the Appearance tab, it will open up the Edit screen, but on the Appearance tab. If I go to the Filter tab, it will open up the Edit screen, but on the Filter tab. It doesn't matter which one you choose, just click one of those edit buttons. Now, I don't necessarily want to see all of the individuals, so I'm just going to get rid of the mark in this environment. So grab the mark and just shift it over to the the left-hand side again. We don't need that on there. So we're just going to keep this simple with family, type, fire rating, and cost. Okay. In the left-hand available fields, I'm just going to go and find count, and I'm going to send that over and make sure that's at the bottom of my scheduled fields. Once you've got those, go across to filter. This is where we could choose to filter. So I could say, show me only things that are on the first floor. So this just gives you the ability to come in and filter by any one of those fields or any one of those relevant fields that you have scheduled from. So if you had something like base level on there, for example, you could say go and only include things that are on level 0 or level 1 or whatever it is that you're after. We're not going to filter this example today, but you can go in there if you need to. We are going to sort. And firstly, we're going to say sort by family. So firstly, find everything with the same family name and start wanting to group them together. Okay. We're then going to say then anything that has the same type, group it together. And then anything that has the same fire rating, group it together. And finally, anything that has the same cost, group it together. So what we're basically doing is going through systematically to basically get a list of what doors do I have and how many of them are there. Okay. And this will, for this example, look through the whole model. Remember, if you've made specifics here, remember to uncheck itemize every instance. If you leave it checked, it's going to give you pretty much the same result, so it won't do anything. If you uncheck it, go ahead and press OK, and you'll get a schedule that looks a little bit like this. So this is now a far reduced schedule, but it's starting to count these doors up. So we have 1 of these doors, we have 8 of these doors, we have 4 of these doors. Again, you've got that live link. So, you know, remember that whilst these are linked together, if I come and click on these, you'll notice clicking one line will go and select several objects in the model. Okay. If you went and looked in the 3D view and you could see all of your doors, again, clicking several different components here would select several things within your model. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Don't change anything in the schedule if you don't want it to update within your model. TW to go back to a full screen window. So really quickly, we can start pulling information, and it doesn't matter what that information is for. I've done it for doors on this, And yes, you've got a load of options with regards to how this table looks. You can come in here and change the look and feel of the table. You can freeze rows. You can insert new rows. We can come into the appearance and we can change whether we want thin lines or thick lines or how you want it to look. Even as far as alignments and things like that. We can do custom calculations. You know, the world is your oyster, really, from that perspective. We could come in and start calculating the costs together if you want to. We'll leave them for today because we've only got another 10 minutes and there's a few more bits I want to go through first. But again, this is just a starter session, just gives you a quick intro of how you pull this information. So please go on and use it. But those same rules exist for everything inside of Revit. So just close that schedule and head over to level 0. One thing that we don't currently have in here is rooms. So what we're going to do is go to the architectural tab, and I want you to go and find the room tool. With that room tool selected, come and click in any enclosed space and it will define a room. So literally go and click once in every enclosed space within that ground floor. We're not going to give these rooms names or anything like that for now. We're literally just going in and we're just giving them numbers. Okay, so it's automatically saying room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4, room 5, room 6. Okay. Right click and cancel a couple of times. And absolutely, if you want to, go and change some of the names. So let's have lobby for room 1. Let's say that room 3 is an office, maybe a big open plan office. Let's say that room 4 is a training room. Let's say that room 5 is a meeting room. And let's say that room 6 is another training room. And then room 2 is a corridor. We're going to go up to the first floor. We won't do it for every floor, but let's go to level 1. Let's do the same thing again. So architecture, room tool, and go and click on every empty space. Again, I'm not really being overly cautious as to the order. I'm doing this quite quickly because of the time limitations that we have. But again, we can come in and we can say, well, this will eventually be maybe a landing. We'll have a nice open plan landing, maybe with some seating, some vending machines, whatever it might be. This is again going to be a big open plan office. Maybe this one's going to be a meeting room. This one's going to be a corridor. And then we've got another office here. And then maybe a training room here. If we went through the whole building doing this, we would have rooms within our building. And this gives us a couple of options. I'm just going to jump back to level 0. These options include, okay, well, I've got information there I can start to pull. So every one of those tags has got a meter squared, it's got a square footage. I'm not really fussed about the square footage, so you could just select the tag, go to edit type, and say that you don't want to see the imperial area. In the UK we use metric, so you know it might be that you only want to see the metric, but if you're watching from overseas, you might want to only show the imperial, or edit that tag to show whatever it is that you want it to show. The second thing we can start to do is use that information to drive more in our model, and we'll go through a lot more of this in the last sessions coming up when we start detailing outputs, so producing outputs and presentations and sheets. But what I'm going to do is go up to your room and area drop down under the architectural tab, room and area, and click color schemes. This will open up a color scheme dialog. Now you should have these as default. We're not actually going to change anything here. We're just going to look at the default ones. This is just to show you the options that you do have. Again, we're a bit limited for time. So under category, if you look at rooms, you'll notice that we have the ability to color rooms by department, by room number, or by room name. If I choose by room name, it comes in and it starts giving me all of the room names that we've defined within our model. It also gives me different colors, hatch fills, any previews. Now you can create your own, you can edit these dependent on what you want, okay? For the purpose of today, we're going to use an out-of-the-box one. But this just shows you that I can quickly define a color scheme, deselect everything so you've got your view selected, come across and scroll down with our view selected, and we can say the color scheme that this view is using is rooms, by room name, apply, OK. It colors the rooms by their name. We can go and do that on the level 1 as well if we wanted to. Nothing selected, scroll down, choose color scheme. Where with nothing selected, remember it's choosing the options or the properties for that view, and we can color them by room name. If we wanted to, then on level 0, we could go into annotate, and we could say color fill legend. That gives us the ability to add a very simple legend, which gives us the colors and their name, or these might be the colors based on the size of that room or the available floor space or whatever it might be. It's just pulling information so you can use it. It's completely up to you how you use it. But that's another way in which you can use them. And you can imagine that as you come to doing your sheets, if you had something like that alongside a view schedule, a room schedule, by going View, Schedules, Schedules and Quantities, scroll down and select Rooms in the list. Give it a name. My first room schedule. Choose your properties. So maybe we'll have area. Maybe we'll have the base finish. Maybe we'll have the name and the number. And maybe the wall finish. Resort these so you've got maybe the number first, followed by the name, followed by the area, the floor finish, base finish, and the wall finish. Maybe you want ceiling finish in there as well. Filter them if you want to. Sort them if you want to, by number, then by name, then by area. They're all going to be individual anyway. Press OK, and then you have your room schedule. Again, that's directly linked to your model. So if you come in and start looking at making selections in here, they directly correlate to what we have within the model. Okay, so really easy to come in and start making these changes and pulling these information. Okay. Now the final thing, just very quickly to go through as part of today's session, is legends. So we started off, we've created a door schedule. We've shown you how we can drive information from the door, but also push information back into the door. We've then also gone off with schedules a little bit further and looked at rooms, looking at how we can add rooms, looking at how we color those rooms using a color scheme, and also how we can start pulling that information also into a schedule. If I just finish this off by going back to level 0, TW to bring it back to full screen. I want to get a legend of all of these different doors that are in there to give me something that's visual, so that eventually when I get to my construction drawings, I have a floor plan, all of my doors are marked with their type mark, or their instance mark like this, sorry. I have a schedule that lists all of those doors, but then I have a visual representation of what those doors look like. Really quickly to finish off, go to View, go to Legends, and go to Legend. That'll give you a name, so let's say my first door legend. It gives it a scale, press OK. You get a blank sheet. From there, go to Annotate, go to Component, and choose Legend Component. Revit will display every one of the models or components that you have within this Revit model. For the purpose of this, I'm going to be very quick because I am conscious of time. So I'm going to say I know that we've got this door, so I'm going to select it. I'm going to choose to do an elevation, and I'm going to place it. Right-click, cancel. Add another legend component. Come in and choose the double one, internal double, that one, elevation from the front, and place it down. I'm going to change this to a shaded view so it looks a little bit nicer, and we would go and add all of our doors that we have. From there, we might add some detail lines to come in and put these into something that looks like a bit of a table, for example. So again, I'm just doing this very quick now because we're almost out of time. Something like that, and then something like that. Obviously, this would be spaced out a little bit nicer in reality. But then, once you've got this information, we might add some text in there, we might add some tags in there, and we'd come in and basically say, it's this door, it's that door, so on and so forth. We can come in and just define that we have a door that's linked to something in a schedule, that's linked to something in the model. And all of that information would then be compiled onto your sheet for your construction drawings. We'll touch on these in a little bit more detail in the session when we start talking about extracting or creation of drawing sheets. But I just wanted to very quickly cover those legends inside of this session as well. And really for today, that's brought us up to the half an hour. So thank you very much for watching. Again, lots to take in over a very short space of time. So thanks for bearing with me. But obviously a lot there to go away and practice. So use the time over the next week. We have a few more of these sessions left. This was the 7th, and we've got 10 in total, I think. So use that time between now and next week to keep practicing. Subscribe to our YouTube, watch the earlier sessions if you've missed them, watch our more detailed full demonstrations of Revit, or maybe full walkthroughs of Revit to see how to use it in a bit more detail or more in depth. But really all that's left for me to say is thank you for watching. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning. Please stay safe, stay well. Hopefully within the next few weeks we can start coming out of this and coming out of the other side, but who knows? We've got to do what we've got to do to keep safe. So enjoy your weeks. Thanks very much, and until next time, stay safe.